Hello everyone and welcome back to GodSaw's Turnbuckle, and today we are going to actually be bringing something back to the channel that honestly I was trying to do very early on in the channel's life, but kind of got away from it in general for actually quite a number of years. And what I'm going to be going ahead and doing here, or at least starting to add into the channel a little bit more often, is more reviews of the major shows that are going on. These will primarily be based around WWE and AEW. I will be probably focusing on those type of shows. If I happen to watch like a major show from TNA or Ring of Honor or something in that sense, like a New Japan Pro Wrestling, I'll probably add those in there as well. But like for the most part, expect these reviews to be mainly based around WWE and AEW. And for our first one here, I am going to go ahead and start this off with a review of WWE's Saturday Night's Main Event for November 1st, 2025. And just going through the show, I did watch this show not as it aired live, but I did watch it a little bit later without spoilers. And of course, this did air on Peacock versus airing on NBC and Peacock simultaneously. So this one was not on network television. And there is one really good point about this particular show that I will bring up right off the bat is, well, since it was only on Peacock and not on network television, there were no commercials during the actual matches themselves. So all the matches went completely through, and then you got commercials after the fact for everything. So it actually does make it for a much easier watch when you're not having the matches interrupted by commercial breaks or anything to go along with it. You know what? If they're going to take it off network television because it wasn't getting enough viewership or whatever the reason was, and moving it over to Peacock for the time being, I'm perfectly fine with that. I am perfectly fine with that, and that's more than likely how the December 13th show is going to be, which is the John Cena's final match, which is also a Saturday night's main event as well. So that's always going to be a very, I find that to be a plus. I find that to be a plus. Now, just for purposes of everything, in terms of this show as a whole, full on, I gave you that plus about like matches not having any interruptions in them or anything like that. But overall, this show, it was fine. I mean, the matches themselves were relatively good, and we'll kind of get into everything to go along with each of the different matches for the show. But honestly, the show itself, it was fine. There was no real major story beats that happened on the show. Like nothing that really pushed anything forward, honestly, as well. It does put maybe put some closure to some matches and stories that are going on, but you didn't really get anything out of the two main matches you would be thinking about, which would have been the WWE title match with Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre, and also the World Heavyweight Championship match with Jey Uso and CM Punk. They were just more straightforward matches for everything. So, in complete honesty, I found the show to be fine. And we'll kind of go through everything. Here for this. We'll go ahead and start with the first match on the show, which was Cody Rhodes and going up against Drew McIntyre for the WWE title, with Cody Rhodes going over in approximately 18 minutes and 45 seconds. And basically, the first thing that I kind of noticed when I started watching the show is like, oh, they're starting off with the WWE title match. And I immediately saw this, and the first thing I thought in my head is like, nothing big's gonna happen here. Like immediately told me it's like this is gonna be more just a match and maybe continuing on the story versus like giving you something big in the end, like either an interference or a Randy Orton return or something substantial. Basically, this match did go off of the new stipulations where Cody could lose the title if he got counted out or disqualified, which you did see Drew McIntyre do throughout the entire match. He was trying to find ways to either bait Cody Rhodes into actually being counted out, or getting himself disqualified. Most of these things eventually didn't happen. Most of these things really didn't end up working. There was eventually a ref bump a little bit later on in the match itself. The referees, it seemed like he was kind of, they were playing it up throughout the match as like, oh, the referee is almost getting hit here, almost getting hit here. And then eventually he did get bumped in the corner, and it's eventually led to Drew introducing the title belt into the match itself. He tries hitting Cody Rhodes. It doesn't work for him. Cody does tease using it, but the referee had gotten back up at that time, so he gives it back to the ref. And I believe during the ref bump section, you have Drew bringing the title back in, and basically what ends out happening, he misses and they're both down. You have Drew that's, like, he's trying to crawl to the championship to be able to try to use it again. This leaves an opening for Cody Rhodes to DDT him on the championship belt, and then leading him to the crossroads for the victory itself. Like I said, this just makes it feel like it's just going, it's just kind of spinning their wheels and trying to get themselves either to Survivor Series or something in this sense. Because in all honesty, it was a good match, but this really doesn't close any stories between Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre. You're going to have this whole aspect that Drew can complain. It's like, he used the championship belt. I should get another shot. There should have been a disqualification here, or this or that. And then you also go on the aspect of no major returns. Nothing really happens here. It's just Cody Rhodes beats Drew McIntyre with the help of the championship belt, but the referee ends out not seeing it because Drew, well, even though he's going to complain about that, he is the one who introduced the title to begin with into the match, so it's kind of on him, but they have like a little bit of an out. If they want to do a match at Survivor Series, then you have the whole aspect of a lot of people are feeling that not Cody, but Randy Orton's probably going to return somewhere in this feud. And that's something I would honestly also see as well. And you didn't get that return here. You didn't get a big story beat in this match, which, like I said, the match was wrestled good. It was fine, but there was really nothing special to it. Now, up next, we will go through the WWE Women's Championship match. It was Tiffany Stratton going up against Jade Cargill. This was a rather short match with Jade Cargill picking up the victory in about 5.5 minutes. Now, this is a match where I actually feel like they did do something special with this. Yes, this was a shorter match, but they showed the dominance of Jade Cargill. They also did technically give a little bit of an out to Tiffany Stratton with the knee injury angle they did the week before. She was still kind of hobbled around here and actually does hurt her. And then they did a spot early on where she does jump and she lands on her knee and hurts it, which has Jade Cargill go on the attack. And honestly, this was complete dominance from Jade Cargill, with the exception of a brief hope spot from Tiffany Stratton where she did trip Jade into the steel steps and then eventually did hit a swanton bomb. But otherwise, this was a complete dominating match. This is something that is kind of more reminiscent of what you saw from Jade Cargill in AEW, and not something that we've seen from her in the WWE side, because they have had her sell more and more during her matches as she was a babyface. They never presented her as a extremely dominating force who's going to go out there and just win matches and win them in a quick manner as well. She was always in a bit of a longer match, having to sell a little bit more, and honestly her biggest strength has been being able to show that dominance before you get to a match where she either has to, go a little bit further, maybe sell a little bit more. And I'm actually kind of glad they did this here. They do technically have that out with Tiffany Stratton where, she was technically injured going into the match with the knee, but she ends out getting completely dominated. It ends with like one sit out power bomb, and it leads into two more regular power bombs and Jaded to pick up the victory. I actually, uh, even though this was short, I actually ended up liking this match. Just mainly just due to the fact that it's like they haven't really shown that dominance from Jade Cargill as a character. And now that she is a heel, they could start going that route. And they started it here with her picking up the championship. And I thought this was actually a good showing and a good way of showing that from Jade Cargill as well, especially if they would have had this go out there and be a back and forth style match, everything in that sense after the injury angle and also the fact that Jade Cargill just went heel, I think that would have been detrimental at that point in time towards Jade. But they didn't go that route, so now you have Jade Cargill as a dominant champion going forward, probably going up against Bianca Belair at some point in time whenever she does come back. At this point in time, I'm kind of leaning towards that Bianca's probably the winner of the Women's Royal Rumble this year, and then they're going to be doing a match at WrestleMania. But yeah, overall, I actually thought this was a good way of going for the for Jade Cargill in the future. We'll see what they do with Tiffany Stratton after the fact as well, because I imagine they will be doing one more match in some way, shape, or form. We'll see when that ends up happening. But overall, I felt like this was a good one. Now, after the match with Tiffany Stratton and Jade Cargill, they did follow this up with the Triple Threat Intercontinental Championship title match. It was Dominic Mysterio, Rusev, and Penta, with Dominic Mysterio picking up the victory in about 12 and a half minutes. And honestly, this was a fun match. Everybody was moving at a very quick pace, everything to go along with it. You could probably put it in a sense that it was a good match as well, but you can't really say it was anything particularly special. It's not something that you're gonna really note for down the line. I did like one little spot that they did in there as well. You had Dominic Mysterio come in with a chair. And this is a triple threat match, and he tries doing the Eddie Guerrero spot where he fake hits and then throws it to Rusev to try to get him disqualified. And the referee just looks at him. It's like, this is a no DQ match. What are you trying to do? I actually love little spots like that inside of the match itself. This is also kind of where you see what they're doing, you see what they're doing with Dom. He's constantly trying to find new ways to pick up the victory, and he does continue on with the whole aspect of the ring bell as well. At one point, Rusev got Penta into the Accolade, and then you just hear the bell ring. So Rusev releases the hold, thinking he has won, but it was actually Dominic Mysterio ringing the bell. This eventually leads to the end of the match where Penta gets the ring bell away from, or not the ring bell, but the ring bell hammer, the hammer away from Dominic. He goes to hit Dominic with it, but he hits Rusev instead. Dominic gets rid of Penta and hits the frog splash on Rusev to pick up the victory. I thought this was a fun triple threat match. Like I said, everybody was moving at a rather quick pace for this one, and it was honestly a fun match. But again, nothing really special to it either. Now this does make it feel at least a little bit more definitive that this probably ends things between Dominic Mysterio and Rusev, and probably Penta as well, to go forward. I mean, there is the rumor that he will be facing John Cena at Survivor Series for the Intercontinental title, so I would imagine they would want to end this feud here at this point in time. So it would be so this one did feel like there was at least a bit of closure within the match for this story between all three of these guys. Now, after this, John Cena wasn't actually in the arena, but they ended up playing like a video clip from an interview that he had once done, or had recently done. And it was basically announcing the championship, or not the championship, but the a tournament to decide who's going to be facing him in his last match. They're calling it the Last Time Is Now tournament. He makes mention is like, you know, my opportunity was earned way back in the day, and he feels that somebody needs to earn this opportunity. It's not hand chosen, it's not picked, it's not this, it's not that, and it will be done in a tournament. Now, just for purposes of this, I did go through the video package. The people that were shown in the video package and will probably show up in the tournament in some way, shape, or form. You had The Miz in there, Solo Sikoa, Sheamus, LA Knight, Drew McIntyre, Penta was in there, Carmelo Hayes was showed up in there, Bronson Reed, Gunther, and Dominic Mysterio. They also do make mention throughout this entire time that it will be like people in the tournament will be from Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, and they make this little mention in there that maybe even a few people who don't even work here. So that has brought up like all the speculations of Edge or Chris Jericho, anything like that. Yeah, I don't think they're going to show up in the tournament. If you're talking about people who are probably not, quote unquote, fully in WWE or do not work in WWE, you would probably be going towards people in, I don't know, TNA. At that point in time, I can see Joe Hendry in this tournament. Maybe even a Mike Santana. I mean, have the TNA World Champion in there. Maybe even have a run in the tournament for one of the guys. You also have people that are in TNA, such as Nick Nemeth and Matt Cardona, who have a history with John Cena to begin with. So those are the people that I would probably assume in there. It would be great if an Edge or Chris Jericho would show up in there, but you have to assume that relationship between AEW and WWE, specifically TKO in general, has to be very, very strained at this point, and that's more in the front office side versus what the wrestlers are, because we've seen out there that a vast majority of the wrestlers from AEW and WWE, they're hanging out, they're buddy-buddy, they're doing everything like that. So I can't see them allowing for like Edge or Chris Jericho to show up in there. I know there's rumored based upon their contract status, everything like that, but I don't feel like that's really the case. So I would expect the people that do not work there probably would be more TNA guys in general. Now, they have not released a bracket for it. This is supposed to start on the November 10th Raw, which is the last Raw, or which is John Cena's last time being in Boston, so it's supposed to start there. And we'll see where everything is out going for that. But honestly, it could be a bit of fun seeing a tournament on TV at this point in time. So I'll be looking forward to it in its own way. And honestly, at this moment, I would probably be looking at a pick of probably Gunther, because it was heavily implied that Gunther has been kind of penciled in as John Cena's final opponent. So as of right now, I would probably be picking Gunther, but it'll be interesting to see who's all going to be in the tournament. Now, after that announcement, they did go ahead and have the World Heavyweight Championship match. It was CM Punk going up against Jey Uso, with CM Punk winning and capturing the World Heavyweight Championship in about a 21-minute match. Honestly, this match in general, I would probably say wasn't the best outing for both CM Punk and Jey Uso. I've definitely seen them both put on better matches, and there was really only one spot that I feel like things were like really bad and maybe kind of got off the page. And there was like, it was really early on in the match where it looked like CM Punk was going for a neck breaker, and Jey Uso kind of just over rotates and both of them kind of just fall. You could probably see a little bit of frustration from CM Punk to go along with it at that time, because he did immediately get up and like give a quick kick to the or a quick stomp to the head for it, and then they kind of went right back into the spot. So maybe there was a little bit of frustration there. I don't necessarily know. I'm not here to like start rumor mill or anything like that. Any frustrations would have to come out from those guys to begin with. But that was kind of the tail of the match, though. After that, it felt like the match just never really got out of first gear. It did maybe a little bit towards the end with everything, but honestly, the match was kind of at a rather slow pace the entire time, and it never really felt like it got into like that upper level. Maybe a little bit at the end because they were kind of doing more finisher spam towards the end. You had like a good spot where Jey Uso hit a super kick, spear, and then splash combo, which led to a 2. I did like the whole aspect of the first time Punk hit the GTS, Jey rolled out of the ring. But then the second time he hits Jey with the GTS as well, they did that spot with him and Seth Rollins where Jey lands back on there and he looks like he's going to go for another one. And that's where Jey Uso countered with multiple super kicks, got out of that GTS. But eventually, you had this bit towards the end where they were trading off their finisher submissions. Like Jey had the sleeper hold in, and then it led into the Anaconda Vice, which eventually, after both of them fought out of that, it did lead to CM Punk countering one of Jey's super kicks and spear attempts, leading into a GTS, which led into a second GTS, and Punk picking up the victory. As mentioned before, though, I didn't think this was a very good match because it never, maybe outside of like the last couple of minutes, it never really felt like it built, and then built to this finish. It just kind of felt like it was moving along slowly, and then out of nowhere they picked up the pace. Type thing, and it just didn't really come off as that good of a match. And again, much like with the WWE title match, you did not get any like story beats or major story beats out of this. Like you didn't really get like an extra tease of like for what we've been seeing with Jey Uso, where he potentially is going heel or anything like that. You didn't get those types of extra teases. Jimmy Uso doesn't show up in the match at all. You don't have anything from the Vision. Like, there's no real attack after the fact. It was just more of a focus, and maybe that is supposed to be the focus of the night, was that CM Punk is now holding on to the World Heavyweight Championship, and he's going to be having at least a decent reign with it. Well, at least longer than a 5-minute reign than before. So that's where the main focus ended out being for the night. So overall, I may mention this before, this was an alright show. You didn't really get anything like special or any huge story beats on it, which I wish they kind of had done. Like the biggest gripe that we had like with Saturday night's main event when they tried bringing it back a long time ago was that nothing major happened. And you did get those major things happening with Saturday night's main event early on when they brought it back this time around. But like I'm talking back in like 2008 and those particular times when they tried bringing back Saturday night's main events. That was always kind of my biggest gripe, is that it was a fine show. Nothing happened. Obviously something happened here. You got a new World Heavyweight Champion, you got a new WWE Women's Champion, everything in that sense. But like, you're waiting for that big angle. You're waiting for that big moment. I mean, they like way back in the day when they were doing Saturday night's main event, you had stuff happen on there. Like you had the controversy with Andre and Hogan. You had Undertaker's face turn happen on Saturday night's main event, where he stopped Jake the Snake Roberts from attacking Savage and Elizabeth when they were coming backstage. The Sid Vicious walkout. They like big moments used to happen on there leading to the next major show. And that was the biggest thing here, is that you did not really have that big moment. That really big moment that's going to continue on a storyline that's leading you into the next show. You had more of just the championship changes, which is great and all and everything. And personally, I thought the best thing on the show ended up being the Jade Cargill Tiffany Stratton match because it showed, you know, Jade Cargill as a dominant force, and it was kind of something new from this was happening. You kind of got that vibe from Jade Cargill going over to heel, and that ended up being the best thing on the show. And like I said, the CM Punk Jey Uso match wasn't all that great. It just never felt like it got out of first gear, at least from what I was seeing on my end. But go ahead and leave your comments down below if you did like everything, and you know, leave comments down below and how you felt about Saturday night's main event. And also feel free to like the video as well if you did like it. And with that being said, I do thank you guys for tuning in, and I hope you all stay safe, stay healthy, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.